Goodness. So rough start. Sorry for being a minute late. My name is Daniel Connor. I am the owner of ConnersCoaching and I'm the host of Game Changer Live. I'm a certified professional coach. I am a proud member of the International Coaching Federation, and people hire me when they're ready to be unstuck in their lives, when they're ready to learn practical habits that transform their lives so that they're happier, more fulfilling, more exciting, that they want to boost their leadership potential, their communication skills, and ultimately, my goal is that my clients look in the mirror and see the best version of themselves reflected back. This is Game Changer Live. It's brought to you by Connors Coaching, and this is a place where we create an inspired community around topics of coaching and positivity and mindset and personal development, leadership development, emotional wellness, emotional intelligence, all of those kinds of things. We bring on guests on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month, and we're live on Wednesdays every week at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time, which is where we are right now. And if you would take a moment to log into YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and to like this video, it goes a really long way to supporting our channel and help us get our message out there and inspire more people. So let's go ahead and get inspired today. We're going to talk about perfectionism, perfectionist behavior. Everyone has some form of perfectionism in their life, in my opinion. And it may be hard to spot, and it may not be a dysfunction. Like, it may not cause difficulty, but perfectionism as a whole is not a helpful emotion or state to be in. So we're going to define it real quick. We're going to define it as the state of needing to be correct, to not make a mistake, to follow the rules, to always know the expectations, to never be corrected, disciplined, or reprimanded. And we're gonna just real quick say, regardless of the reason, all of those are grounded in fear. All of those are a fear of consequences, a fear of action, an attempt to control a future, an anxiety about a state that's outside of our control currently. So, fear is always something we shouldn't use to make decisions, because decision making involves our brain, and fear overrides our brain, our higher functions. When we are afraid, our brain is not functioning at full capacity. We're not the smartest that we could possibly be. So perfectionist behavior, first of all, fundamentally flawed because it is fear-based. Next, it prevents us from finishing actions. It delays us from pushing the button. It causes us to research endlessly, to review, to edit, to change our emails, to worry about our presentation, to fret, right? And I am guilty of being a perfectionist. The reason that we go live, specifically, the reason that we go live is because I know that if I was in charge of my own video editing, that I would work as hard as I possibly could to look like a Hemsworth brother. And that would take a lot of editing. Let's just be honest. There is no amount of editing that's going to turn me into a Hemsworth. But there is a level of perfectionism in me that is afraid of how people are going to see me. Being here and being vulnerable is a form of me fighting that fear and that perfectionism. And if I can do it, I know anyone on earth can do it. So, I learned, let's talk like 10 years ago, 10, 11, actually maybe a little bit longer than that now, 15 years ago. If I drafted an email that had to go to a person that I cared about the opinion of like my manager or uh, a manager of a different department or a lead of someone, um, it would take me an hour to draft that email. I wanted that email to shine. I wanted them to really appreciate the tone of my email. I wanted them to get the information out of it. And I was dealing with very complex information. So there was some information that I had to convey at that time. But it was way too long to spend drafting an email. I learned I learned that perfectionism was not my friend. Perfectionism was preventing me from being productive. So I have also learned to recognize that because I fought it so hard in myself. I've learned to recognize it for other people. And one of the things that I have noticed with my clients is that there is a tendency for perfectionism. I think every single client that I've ever worked with has held off on doing something because they were worried about how it was going to be received, how it was going to impact them, if it was going to be perfect. They were worried about getting the colors right or the branding right, and they weren't doing it. Actually, I had one client who wasn't doing yoga because um, doing yoga meant for them that they needed to commit at least an hour to do yoga, but they could only find 15 minutes to do yoga. So instead of doing the 15 minutes of yoga, they did 0 hours of yoga. And that is a kind of a form of perfectionism. It's relative. So perfectionism prevents us from doing the things that we actually want to do. It's a form of fear. And if you watched our last episode, not last episode, we had a guest, Rachel. Great episode. You should check that out too. But the episode from the beginning of October, it is That's Nice, Do It Anyway, is the name of the episode. Um, it's all about pushing through fear, pushing through emotion that's preventing you from getting something done. This is more specific to perfectionism, but fear is an emotion. So you can use the techniques in that video. And basically, it comes down to naming what you're going through, taming what you're going through, conquering it, and repeating it. So telling yourself that's nice, I'm going to do it anyway. Pushing send on that email button, pushing post on that social media post, hitting publish on that web page, whatever it is that you're holding back on. So, why is perfectionism so dangerous? Well, we love neuroscience. I personally, I love neuroscience. And I know just enough to be dangerous. So take this with a grain of salt because I'm a fanboy and not a scientist myself. But the learning centers of the brain center around the use of dopamine. Okay? Your brain creates or releases dopamine when you are learning a new skill, when you have a goal that you really want. So let's talk about like kids, babies, when they're first learning to walk. When a when a child first learns to walk, they want to walk. They learn to stand up. They see other people walking. They see their parents walking. They want to emulate that behavior. They stand up and they try to take their first steps. When they do, their body doesn't have the skills, the balance, the reflexes, or the musculature to hold them up. So they fall. And their brain releases tiny amounts of dopamine the closer they get to successfully walking. It's a reward mechanism that helps train them to successfully walk. When they finally do walk, their brain releases large amounts of dopamine. And the interesting thing is, when we learn skills, dopamine helps set the neural pathways of those skills. If we only ever succeeded at something, we only would ever set our mind. It would never actually expand or grow or create new neural pathways. Just imagine what your life would be like if you never grew from that point in your life. You probably didn't even know how to speak at that point. It's integral to the human experience to make mistakes so that our brain finds creative solutions to get us to a successful behavior. And if we never make mistakes, we are doomed to never grow. And I was a professional trainer. This is something I learned as a trainer. And perfectionism in the classroom was something I did not tolerate. You can ask any of my students. I actually kicked a student out because she refused to make a mistake. She was like, I don't want to do that. I know it's going to be a mistake. And I said, then leave, because you're not going to learn anything here. So if perfectionism is so dangerous, why do we get into that trap? Well, unfortunately, we're in a very regimented society. People have expectations and desires and needs. And as we get older, we have enough scars built up from the mistakes that we've made that instead of celebrating those mistakes, we've condemned them. Instead of celebrating the F's that we got in school, we punished them. We learned that those were bad things, and so we learned to avoid that kind of behavior. And as a result, we've actually diminished our creativity, our ability to learn, and our ability to grow as human beings over time. So, 2 episodes ago, we talked about pushing through the emotion, saying that's nice, do it anyway, and that is a perfectly acceptable way to get through conquer perfectionism. If you want to stop the video here, you're welcome to. Please take a moment to like the video. That's a great tip. But if you want to stick with us, I'm going to share with you the thing that changed my life. The thing that changed my life was iteration-based design. Iteration-based design is a design concept that was created in the mid-19 somethings. Okay. And it came out of marketing, and it's especially was used in software development. In fact, it's still used heavily in software development, especially video game development. That is what the version number of software is the iteration of that software. Okay. And so basically with iteration-based design, the concept is, or the premise is that something, there's a couple of premises, but something is always better than nothing. A flawed product is more perfect than no product. A flawed email, better than no email. Flawed resume, better than no resume. You can't use no resume. You can use a flawed resume. Probably won't get you very far, but over time, you may be able to change that flawed resume. The second premise is that perfection itself is a state of present functionality. It's not a need to be correct or flawless. Look at software. It is not flawless. Technology is not flawless. But its present functionality exists. And in that, it is perfect in that moment. And that means that if it exists in a present functional state, that is, that the resume has your name on it and some work history on it, it is a functional resume, it's already an iteration, a perfect version of itself. It doesn't mean that it can't be fixed or improved. And when we go through an iteration design, there's a whole design process. It goes through an evaluation process, a review process, a creation process, and then another evaluation process. And it's a cycle. It keeps going around and around, right? So that it constantly improves. It gets closer to what we might think of as perfection. Um, it's never going to stay perfect. We're going to discover flaws that make it feel less than perfect. It's about the present moment. When we hit that send button, it's perfect. Someone may find a flaw, makes it less perfect. But the moment we hit that send button, it was fine. And then finally, we record our process. So this is really the design process. We record the process, we record our likes and our dislikes of the product that we created. We record other people's thoughts and feedback, and we come up with a patch, right? A software patch. And in that software patch, we update the version. And you can have, partial patches, in which case you make a couple of edits, or you could have major revisions, in which case the whole version changes. So let's take the iPhone as an example here, because the iPhone is a great example. When the iPhone came out, it was a revolutionary product. The iPhone 3 revolutionized phones. I got on the bandwagon with the iPhone 3. So for me, that was the epitome of the iPhone. Um, I had a roommate that was into it. iPhone 1 and 2, I think they were for nerds. Just, put that out there. If you had one, you're a nerd. Just saying. Um, but those iPhone 3s, they were really hot items. Everyone wanted one. That's when the phone line started for the release dates. It was ridiculous. And I finally got one late, right before they released the 4. But it was amazing. It was perfect. It did things that no other phone could do. And now let's look at the iPhone 14 Pro that's going to come out this fall. Compared to that iPhone 3, the iPhone 14 Pro blows it out of the water. It's faster, it lasts longer, it does way more, it has fewer bugs, it has a better camera. There is no doubt about it. No one would choose to buy an iPhone 3 as opposed to an iPhone 14, sorry. Okay? If you didn't take into account price, because price is always going to be an issue, right? Especially with iPhones. Does that mean that the 3 sucked? No, the 3 was perfect. But they've learned how to make a better iPhone. And so they've iterated it over time and made a better version of that thing. And you can do that with your work. When you write an email, every email is an iteration of your email. Okay, an email from Daniel is a product. Okay, and when I write an email, I improve on the last time I wrote an email by writing it slightly better. I have templates in my mind of how I write emails. Generally, I start with a person's name if I know it, or greetings if I don't, if it's a formal email. If it's not a formal email, I don't put a whatever. This is a little outdated because who uses email these days? Everyone texts. But the point is, I improved my process over time. I improved the show over time. This is the second iteration of Game Changer Live. When we first started out, we did our shows on Sunday afternoons. Sunday afternoons was the worst time slot. We did it for 2 hours. 2 hours was way too long. We did it twice a month. That was too few times a month. We always had guests on. That meant I was always talking over the guests because I didn't have a chance to talk on my own. And because I can't hold back. I have to talk. What can I say? This is what you get right here. Um, and I knew that there were problems with the phone. Oh, and the big one, we were on Twitch, which is a live format just like this, but it doesn't store the videos for more than 90 days. So all of that work was gone. I did download the videos. I intend to upload them at some point. I just haven't wasted the bandwidth necessary to upload them. That's not a perfectionist thing. That's just a lazy thing. We'll be honest. But the point is, I knew it was flawed at the beginning. I knew that there were things I wanted to change, but I made a goal. I made a goal to get through May before I decided what changes to make. And I also made a goal that I was going to make those changes as an iteration of the show all at once, starting in July. 6-month window from December 2021 to July 2022. And in July 2022, we launched Game Changer Live on YouTube as the second iteration of the show. You can iterate your life and overcome perfectionism. It's as simple as telling yourself it's perfect the way it is as long as it's functional. If it gets across the point, but it has a few grammar errors you haven't found yet, the point of finding those grammar errors is simply to control the future. And that is a decision based in fear, not a decision that's in your best interest. I am a professional coach and I work with clients all the time to overcome their perfectionism and other areas that they're stuck in. If you're interested in finding out more about it, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, tell me what inspired you in the comments about this video in particular. And you feel free to go to my website. There's a link in the description of this video. It's ConnersCoaching.com. That's Connors with an ER, all one word. And you can contact me there, set up a free 60-minute appointment with me for your first coaching consultation with me. And I would love to talk to you to see how coaching can work for you. Until then, I want to tell you about our next episode. I'm bringing back our very first guest from the first iteration of Game Changer. She's going to be talking about emotional intelligence next week, and I cannot wait to have her back here. Since you stick around this long, please do take a moment to like and subscribe to this video and leave that comment about what inspired you. And I am so thankful to have you here with me today. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next